Hey guys, my name is Parda Iluri, and in this lesson we're going to be talking about the Tuskegee Airmen. So, who were the Tuskegee Airmen? So this is just some background general information. And the Tuskegee Airmen were some dedicated and determined young African Americans, and they were the first um, black military airmen. So they were the first people who served in the Air Force, and they came from all over the country. So, but most of them came from New York City, Washington D.C., L.A., Chicago, Detroit, and Philadelphia. And as you can see on the bottom, these are some pictures of them. So, as kind of like a background information, during this time, everything was segregated, right? Schools, there were separate classrooms, separate bathrooms, and separate water fountains too, right? So, restaurants, buses, everything was segregated, whites and blacks. And in general, everybody thought that like these black men, they lacked intelligence, skill, courage, patriotism, and qualifications required to be uh, an army person, or like a soldier. And as a result of this, they were constantly denied leadership roles and skilled training. And soon they were banned from flying in the U.S. military. But later, the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, also known as the NAACP, and the press, they convinced the War Department, and they pressured the War Department to allow African Americans to serve in the military. And eventually, this led to the formation of the all-black 99th Pursuit Squadron of the U.S. Army Air Forces, and that was in 1941. So just right before the World War II started. The Tuskegee Experiment and the Tuskegee Institute. So in order to train all these African American men, the Army Air Corps created a program that taught them how to fly and how to maintain combat aircraft. And as like a side note, everything here in the Tuskegee Experiment and the Tuskegee Institute, everything was segregated, right? Was still maintained as a social norm during that time. And they were like these African American men, they were trained using single engine planes at the Tuskegee Airfield. And the institute was located in Montgomery, Alabama, and it was selected by the Army to train African American pilots. The Tuskegee Institute eventually came to be known for commitment in aeronautical engineering, facilities, engineering, instruction, so it became really popular. So this institute expanded and became the center for African American aviation for the duration of World War II. So all the African American men, they would come to the Tuskegee Institute, they would get trained there, and they would be able to serve in the military during World War II. So the Tuskegee Airmen, they fought in Europe in World War II, and a total of 992 pilots graduated from the Tuskegee Institute, and not a single American bomber was lost. Right? That's amazing, right? Not a single American bomber was lost. So it shows how brave and determined these African American men were. So they flew over 1,578 missions and destroyed 261 enemy aircraft. That's amazing, right? And eventually they won over 850 medals. So, like, after learning from all of this, what's the significance? Well, the significance is that the Tuskegee Airmen, they're so brave. They overcame segregation and prejudice and became one of the most respected fighter groups of World War II. And the formation of this squadron and the formation of this air group, the group of airmen, is that it's one of the most important catalysts that led to the civil rights movement. So eventually in 1948, President Harry Truman, he ended racial segregation in the military. But even though that is a very advancing legislation, it happened 3 years after World War II ended. So they still had to fight some civil rights movement, and they had to fight for their rights. But overall, the Tuskegee Airmen were amazing people. They were very strong, brave, and they overcame so many obstacles.